Françoise Lamotte in Switzerland.
Hi, this is Dominic Mugli in the San Francisco Bay Area. Our podcast, The Digital Edge, brings our perspectives on the digital revolution with a cutting edge angle.
Today, we are discussing the role of security, privacy, and confidentiality in digital transformation. I mean, Dominic, these are big words. So, what is the core issue there?
They're one of my favorite subjects actually in digital transformation, and not because they're like out there and they're making digital digital features and digital tools much more capable, but they're so basic in what these digital tools and capabilities bring, right? If you look at security, for example, if you can't protect your data, and we're talking about data here, right? If you can't protect your data as it goes from one place to another over the internet, for example, be it your credit card information or your social security number or what have you, then we're really exposed, right? And really bad things could happen. And that's why I think it's so critical in the case of security, right? That all our software, all our systems consider these capabilities almost as an inherent expectation rather than an add-on or a nice to have, if you will.
I agree. Although I would say that, from my experience and what I've seen around, is that many of the failures in terms of security are not coming from the software. It's usually human behavior, sending data through non-encrypted files, or using personal emails, or the weak link is usually the users, rather than the software. And I think that's, for me, the major issue. In many organizations where I've worked, there was a lot of training and reinforcement and communication about, cyber attacks, and the responsibility of each employee to protect the organization. So I understand what you say about, security being an inherent feature of application and software. But do you really believe that's where the issue lies, or is it more in how we use technology?
Yeah, I think it's both, right? And this is something that I was exposed to many years ago, early in my career. I worked at a company that had a very serious information protection program, right? And I previously had never thought about what you're mentioning about the human aspect of this, right? I was previously exposed to the technical aspect to ensure secure communications, to ensure encryption of confidential data and technical protection, basically. But that information protection program that I got exposed to was talking about social engineering and, like you said, checking your emails links before you click on it and knowing where you get the messages from, being careful about USB memory sticks and that type of stuff, right? Where the technology may be great, but if the user is not aware of these things, then you may still have a problem.
Yeah, and I think the phishing attacks, or the cyber crime, is getting more and more sophisticated, and it's getting harder and harder to to realize that you clicked on a bait, and you are in the wrong place. So yeah, I think very often, like, criminals are ahead of security, and it's only by really training people, and doing fake phishing attacks, and reinforcing the message that you
Right.
can fully protect your organization. But even though, I think the point about cyber attack is not so much, if it's going to happen, but when. Because there is no safe shelter, and every organization is subject to those attacks.
Yes, indeed. I was thinking as I thought about the topic for this podcast, I was thinking about my time in the pharma industry, and the FDA, several years ago released the guidance on data integrity, and I thought that was a very pertinent topic, right? Which then companies are being audited on, where the regulator then checks for compliance on how data is protected that is being generated by an organization. And it entails everything from the point of where data is generated to the way that is transcribed, either on a paper record or transposed to a different system, and then ultimately utilized for decisions in determining whether the product that was produced is safe to be released, right? There's a whole custody of ownership of that data. And that is unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, because there have been issues in the industry where data was not handled properly. And so the regulator then came up with rules that had to be adhered to ensure that safe management of data in that particular industry.
Yeah, and I really like the word you said, data ownership. And I think that for me, that's maybe the main evolution in data management,
Mm-hmm.
that, everyone in their organization is handling data. And very often, people are not aware, they don't, they collect data, where is it stored, how long should I keep it, do you have the right even to have that data? Those questions were not really asked or answered before, but I think now there is more awareness about these topics. This week I was with a group of managers, and I asked those questions. What are the data that you are handling, and who is the data steward? And I realized many of them didn't have that notion. So even though in Europe or in Switzerland those regulations have come into force already, there is still a lag for everybody to be fully aware and responsible of the
Mm-hmm.
data that is manipulated. So I think
Yeah,
still a long way to go.
yeah, I think it's a complex shift, right? Because you have that mindset of being a user of a system to all of a sudden becoming responsible for the data. And in order, going back to security, privacy, and confidentiality, I think your point of, understanding that and designating somebody who can understand that in the business context is very, very important to make the right decisions and make the right investments on the technology, also to protect that data, and the training and the awareness within the organization as well.
Mhm. The other aspect, I think, of that topic, maybe making a step aside from the technical aspect, is the impact on business regarding those issues. Not so much in terms of security, but in terms of business opportunities. The fact that the data is more protected, is better handled, which I think are great things, is potentially reducing business opportunities, and potentially killing some businesses that were leveraging a lot of data that was floating around, and targeting people based on data that was publicly available. I think those restrictions might affect some marketing campaigns, or a lot of the businesses that were relying on getting access to personal data in a free world, in a way.
Right, right. I mean, we've seen that for quite a while now, that personally identifiable information is protected, and all data sets associated with a person have to be very, very carefully handled, right? And it also is different in different jurisdictions. So I think it's a very, very complex topic, right? And again, it's another area that businesses need to be aware of and really become proficient in order to be compliant.
Absolutely. um, I mean, if just to, my takeaway on this topic is, obviously a critical topic, because, disasters can happen from data leakage and lack of security and cyber attacks. And it's in, I mean, financial impact, obviously, and it can be very substantial, but also, reputation, trust, confidence in the organization. I mean,
Mhm.
and even for the employees, it can be psychological impact of having, some of those aspect of the business being violated. So I think, there is a huge work to be done to protect organizations. And I think the awareness is developing. A lot of organizations are putting things in place, but there is still room, because the potential risks are high and always increasing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would really recommend to every business, how big or how small, to build an information protection plan, right? And that's something that's actually fairly easy to do. I mean, you can go to ChatGPT and ask it to create a template for an information protection plan, because what it does, it allows you to go through and become familiar with the topics of consideration that you can then tailor for your business, and understand the data and the risk that you have, and then take the appropriate responses and work with your business functions and also your technology providers to ensure that you have the appropriate protections and make the right investments to keep your data secure and your business compliant.
I think that's a great advice. Thank you so much, Dominik. And next time we'll be talking about how do we measure the success of digital transformation.
Thank you very much, Francoise.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Till next time.